I'm Dr. Cindy Davis Evans with the Cindy Davis Show. May is Foster Care Awareness Month, and my guest today was a former foster youth. He's also ambassador for Phillip Baily's Music is Unity Foundation. He was also featured on the 19th season of American Idol. Welcome to the show, Dreion. Hey, Dreion, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you for having me. It's a
Oh,
pleasure to be on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mark, you have had some journey and in your young life.
Yes.
Wow. Being in foster care and all of that, and pulling yourself up by the bootstraps by the grace of God to move on with your music ministry.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about why foster care is so near and dear to your heart.
So foster care is very near and dear to my heart, and something that I really discovered was something that I wanted to fully dive into in 2020, when things kind of shut down, and I was working on my first project that I wanted to release for as an artist.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start off telling my story, where I come from, and what happened to me in my life. And so that project was entitled I Am Life.
Yeah.
And I really got a chance to share, everything that I went through in foster care, when I went through in my childhood. I was placed in the foster care system at the age of 6. And I was only in the system for 6 months. I was in in what would be called a reunity, or a reunited program, to be reunited with my family. But in that 6 months, I went through 5 different foster homes. I was on 7 different medications. I was in and out of psych wards and hospitals, tested on and things like that by therapists, and it was traumatic. And there was just so many things that took place that changed my life just at the age of 6.
Wow, that is horrific.
It is, and it was horrific to live through and go through, and going through that experience. When I released that project in 2020, I wanted to tell that story, but I also wanted to find some sense of healing as well, for myself, and then share that healing, because I know I wasn't the only one to have gone through that experience as well.
Why were you placed in foster care?
Well, I was placed in the system. I grew up in a rough home life. My mother, she was a young mother, and she was a child raising a child. So she just didn't have everything that she possibly could. She did her best.
Yeah.
But she essentially disciplined me at school, and openly, and the school immediately called the police, and I was taken away from her. And ironically, I had family that came up to get me and to take me, but they would not release me to my family. They actually decided to put me into the system, despite my family being there.
Wow. You were, tell us about some of the abuses that you went through. I heard that you were bullied and thrown downstairs by the kids. That is horrible.
So yes, I was in these different homes. I was going to. I'm 6 years old. I'm a chatterbox kid, so I had a lot of energy. I was always a lively, charismatic kind of person, and I still am today. And so I ran into a lot of different personalities with other children in the foster care system, and a lot of them come from trauma like I do. And so there was a lot of situations where, we're all living in the same room. We're all living in the same house, in the same quarters around each other all the time. Things are going to happen. But unfortunately, in one of the homes, these children were a lot older than I was.
Oh.
And so there was I was easy to pick on because I was the little one. I was the little guy in the house.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, there was a night where, the boys planned, uh, to kind of, get at me, and I was pushed down the stairs,
Yeah.
and into the basement, and they were all at the bottom of the stairs, waiting for me. And one of them was at the top of the stairs. The one that pushed me was flicking the lights on and off, as
Mhm.
creating a strobing effect. And when that happens, it's hard to move. You can't really,
See where
move. And
you're
so,
going. Yeah.
yeah, you can't see where you're going. And so they were at the bottom of the stairs, and they started yelling and kicking and punching and beating on me, unfortunately. And I think that was the most traumatic experience throughout my entire experience being in the foster care system.
Oh, what kind of tests did they run on you? I mean, when you're in the system, you kind of belong to the state.
Right.
And that's the horrific thing about all of this, is that you have no say.
Right. So from what I remember, because I was six, a
Yeah.
lot of the tests that they would run were either, there was some type of brain, scans and tests.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing psychological testing on me. There were even moments where I didn't go into I wouldn't call it an operating room, but it was a room where they
Mm-hmm.
were just running, different, scans and putting, different drugs into my body, through IVs and things of that nature. And then the other testing was the medicines that they were putting me on as well, seeing how I
Wow.
was reacting to the 7 different medications that I was on by the time. I believe that I believe they were behavioral medications. I don't know exactly what those are and what they
Mm-hmm.
did, but they definitely made me drowsy. I gained a lot of weight because
Wow.
they made me hungry. I was suicidal as well because there was a lot of,
Mhm.
reactions that my body had to these medicines. I was always like sedated, almost like, almost
Mhm.
in a state where I was there but not there, and I kind of was, looking off into the distance a lot of times. So there was a lot of different tests that I went through, but I can't say exactly what they all were.
Yeah, that is so horrible. That is just horrific. Were you in school? Did they have any kind of instructions for you, teaching or?
So yeah, so it was from what I can remember, I went into the system at the closer to the end of the school year. I think I was in like
Oh.
first grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was taken out, it was almost close to the end of the school year anyway. I was still in the system over the summer. And then in the fall, I began school again. And I was in one or two different school districts because of the many different homes I was in. So that was the challenging part. I think, I tried my best,
Mm-hmm.
being in school. But, being moved from one school to the next, it was hard to make friends. It was hard to connect with people. And there was definitely a learning curve there.
So how were you eventually reunited with your parents?
So I was about seven, it was about 6 months later. So I was about 7 years old, and I was reunited with my mother over the time that I was in the system. Uh, Eventually, not at first. At first, when I got into the system, I, did not have any contact with any family that I had. I didn't know where I was.
Yeah.
But eventually, I was able to have visitations with my mother over the time that I was in the system. And
Oh.
from what I've been told, my mother
Mhm.
wrote a very convincing letter to the judge on
Okay.
on their decision and ruling, to bring me to, reunite me with my mother. And that's how I ended up being reunited after, 6 months
Yeah.
of
Oh,
horror.
hell. Yeah. Going
Yeah.
through that. That is horrible. I am so sorry that you had to experience that. So that kind of sparked the interest in reform for foster care.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you hope to reform? What are your hopes?
Well, there's so many aspects of the system that are just broken.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the biggest things, that I would really hope to reform is the way that the children are treated. I think that is the most important thing. I
Yeah.
mean, there's over 400,000 children in the foster care system in the United States alone
Wow.
right now. And we all have, similar experiences. And I was in the system back in 2004, and there's still children talking today that were saying, yeah, they pack my stuff up in trash bags. I'm still being tested on with medications. I'm still going through different homes. The welfare of these children are not being looked at over or not being watched, and they're almost being treated even worse than prison, than people in prison. And what's crazy about it is that these children didn't ask or didn't deserve to be in these systems or in these situations.
Yeah.
And because they are wards of the state,
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of, free reign or free agency. And I think that the welfare of these children really has to be taken care of and needs to be reformed by the system. They
Yeah.
need to be checking into better training for foster parents,
Yes.
and how to deal with different children that come in that might have mental disabilities, that might have behavioral issues, that might have, these different things that they have to deal with on a daily basis. And then another thing to me that has to be reformed are for-profit foster care organizations that make money off of placing these children, because a lot of times for-profit organizations will place a child in a home or
Mm-hmm.
have placed a child in a home that they know won't work out or potentially can't work out. And what happens is they get paid for placing that child. If it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work out, the child goes back to that for-profit organization and they have to place them again, and then they get another payment. So sometimes these organizations take advantage of that for
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Um, and on the other end, the therapists that they hire to work with these children a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times also prescribe these medications that these children don't need,
Oh,
but they get paid to do that as well.
oh my
The
God.
more medicines that are prescribed that they say that this child needs or will work, the more money that they make.
Mm-hmm.
And so that completely has to be reformed, because we're not commodities that can be, moved and distributed. These are
Absolutely.
human beings.
Absolutely, absolutely. It seems like it's all about the money and not about the child. So that definitely needs to be reformed. Even
Yeah,
those kids who are there all their lives until they're
yeah.
18, what do they do after they are released?
And that's a whole nother piece as well. There's like about 20,000 foster youth age out of the system every single year. And
Wow.
those children or those individuals go out into the world unsupported.
Yeah.
A lot of times,
Mm.
don't have a lot of knowledge about life, how to take care of themselves, how to find a job, how to find a career, how to go to college. Can I go to college?
Yeah.
What are my options? What are the things that I can do? And that's a part of the system that we need better programming, better funneling systems for college,
Yeah.
better, educational opportunities, and support systems. Foster care organizations, connecting these children with foster care organizations that can help them and give them resources that they need to be able to make it as adults. Because, statistics are showing that after 2 years, they're either, homeless or in
Wow.
prison, many
Wow.
of them.
Yeah, they just kind of fall through the cracks because there's no support. So
Correct.
that also needs to be reformed,
Yes.
and that's a wonderful thing that you're doing. You're working with Music is Unity Foundation with
Yes.
Phillip Baily.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
How did you get connected with Phillip Baily?
So what's amazing about this story, Music is Unity specifically works is it is one of those foster care organizations that help foster youth aging out of the system
Mhm.
get those resources and get that help that they need.
Yeah.
And I was, as I said, in 2020, I released my first project, and I reached out to different foster care organizations that I wanted to partner with,
Oh
just to
yeah.
be able to tell the story and to help other foster youth.
Yeah.
And I reached out to an organization called Mixed Roots Foundation, and
Mm-hmm.
they were doing this event with Music is Unity called
Mm-hmm.
the Foster Challenge that was going to help emergency funding for foster youth, especially during the pandemic with all of the different things happening and going on. And I had no idea what Music is Unity was, or that Phillip Baily was over it. I was just connecting with Mixed Roots, but
Oh,
I got on the call to do the event, and
yeah.
lo and behold, PB was on the call, and from there it was an incredible experience. They featured me as an artist for that event, for the Foster Challenge, to tell my story, to share
Yeah.
my music, to help inspire other foster youth. And from there we began a 3-year relationship that has come to where we are now, where I'm working as an ambassador for their organization,
Hmm.
speaking with foster youth and doing work to help show foster youth that not only can they be successful, but there's people out here that understand and know what they've gone through and want to help them and give them hope, so that they don't feel like they're alone in this world.
Absolutely. That is a wonderful work. And you're also doing the backstage sound check. Tell us about that.
Yes. So
And then
what's
we're going to get
incredible,
to your music.
I'm so excited about this, actually, because as I said, I've been working with Music is Unity and Phillip Baily for over about 3 years now. And
Hmm.
I went out on a whim and I said, I would love to open up for Earth, Wind and Fire.
Wow.
It's like, the worst thing they could say to me is no.
Yeah.
And I presented this idea to them, and they said, "Well, we actually, have been doing these backstage sound check experiences where we invite foster youth
Hmm.
from our organization that are interested in the music industry to come back to the foster care, or to come
Hmm.
back to the backstage and see the different careers in the music industry, and to
Yeah.
give them that experience." And so we made this plan and this idea to do a foster care awareness tour, where we would do the backstage sound check. I would be opening, and I
Yeah.
get to perform and open for Earth, Wind and Fire. But while we are on tour, we're also doing the backstage sound check, where we're inviting the foster youth to come back. They get to speak to the different facets
Hmm.
of the tour experience, from
Hmm.
myself to wardrobe to lighting and audio and obviously Earth, Wind and Fire as performers and artists and management and things. And we just get to really inspire them, give them options, and give them different things that they can do to get into the music industry. And
Hmm.
it's going to be an incredible experience. And they're finally bringing it back after so many years of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Now we're finally actually able to do it and launch it this year.
Yeah. Wow, that's a beautiful thing. Is Phillip Baily, is he the founder of Music is Unity Foundation?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Oh.
Phillip
Uh,
Baily and his daughter Trinity Baily, they
uh-huh.
both are co-founders
Mm.
of Music is Unity, that they started about 14 years ago.
Okay, okay. That is awesome. That's awesome work. Given your background and everything that you've gone through, how were you able to emerge out of the ashes and begin a music career?
One thing I will say is,
So
when I was in foster
fascinating.
care, one thing I will say is that when I was in foster care, when I was, in those different homes and things,
Yeah.
I always say the two things that kept me, motivated and keep going, was
Yeah.
God and music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those were my two foundations that I hung on to. I was always singing, always, not only praying, but singing gospel songs, singing music. A lot of these homes that I would go to, I would still be involved in church, and I have a very firm foundation
Hmm.
being in church, and growing up in church. And so a lot of those things stuck with me and stayed
Yeah.
with me. And
Yeah.
so, I always was singing. I started singing when I was 4 years old.
Oh.
And I'm a singer. I write music. I play many different instruments as well. And so, through that experience, those were the things that kept me. So it's always been somewhat of a, I want to say, yeah, a stress reliever, but it was
Yeah.
also, something to kind of take my mind away, kind of get away from everything that's happening. And
Yeah.
so it stuck with me, and I fell in love with music.
Uh-huh.
And became my passion. It became the thing that I had a drive for.
Yeah.
And one thing that I always know about myself is that when I'm really like intrigued or really want to know more about something,
Mm-hmm.
I go all in. So,
Yeah.
I started studying artists like Prince and Michael Jackson and James Brown, and those became the people that I, clung to in terms of, my musical inspirations. And I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be on the stages. I wanted to perform and sing in front of thousands upon thousands of people. Um, and so that motivation always stuck with me. And I decided to make it a career and to go on to college and to be a musician.
Yeah, you have your degree in music.
Yes, so I graduated from Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
I'm a songwriting major,
Oh, wow.
and one incredible thing that happened for me in high school was that I didn't have a whole lot of resources, I didn't have a whole lot of money, and so I
Mhm.
worked really, really, really hard on my music career and
Mhm.
and on getting scholarships to go to college, and
Wow.
I won the Gates Millennium Scholarship, and Bill Gates paid for my entire education to go to Berklee.
Really?
Yes,
Oh, awesome. Awesome. May I ask how old you are, young man?
I am 26 years old.
Wow. Wow. You have accomplished so much in your young life. Um,
Thank you.
yes. How did you get your big break though? I mean, because you're recording albums and you're touring
Hmm.
with Earth, Wind, and Fire. You go from a foster care system
Hmm.
to, from poverty to where you are now. How did you get your big break?
Well, I say one of my big breaks was a few different things. One of them was while I was at Berklee. I met a lot of great, amazing people and
Mhm.
friends of mine that still play with me and perform with me. And
Yeah.
we had a very we had a great summer in 2019 where we were performing at different events and festivals. And one of those shows was in Boston, and
Hmm.
we were performing for a retirement home outside for Berklee College of Music,
Okay.
and somebody was recording a tribute that we did to James Brown,
Uh-huh.
and that video that they put up went viral on Facebook and got over 1 million views. And that was really how it kind of started, how I got a big break for more people to find out who I was.
Uh-huh.
People like Bootsy Collins reached out to me.
Really?
I got in touch with people like Sheila E. and other greats like that. And that video kind of really put me on the map in terms of people seeing who I am and what I do. And that was kind of a big break. And then from there, I went on to do American Idol,
Hmm.
and so on and so forth. And then the work that I've been doing with Music is Unity, opening for Earth, Wind, and Fire and things. So, I'll even say, that was a big break, but I'm still emerging.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Who knows where you're going to end up?
Yeah.
This is just a beginning, right?
Yes.
Wow. And you have a wife and you have a child. You have one
Yes.
child.
Yes. Yes. So I've been
Mhm.
married for going on 8 years
Wow,
to my
congratulations.
yes, to my beautiful wife.
Uh,
We met in church in Omaha, Nebraska.
uh-huh.
And while we were in college in Boston, we had our baby girl. She's now 4 years old. Her name is Lenora Gloria Morel.
Oh, that's a beautiful name. Tell us about your music. Now, how do you describe your music?
I describe my music as inspirational soul and R&B. Um,
Okay.
Very much so in the vein of Michael and Earth, Wind, and Fire and Prince.
Yeah.
I always try to have a message, a story, an
Yeah.
experience for the
Hmm.
audience in my music, uplifting, whether it's uplifting, informative, educational, or just something about life that people can relate to. Um, so I love, love, love soul music. I love R&B. I love funk music. That
Yeah,
is,
I can tell. Yeah, I watch the
uh,
videos, but you can get down, you can dance, you do that Michael Jackson. You got
uh,
it going on.
thank you. Thank you. And I love to sprinkle in gospel because that's still a part of my foundation as well.
Of course, because some of your can you tell me what when you sing about change, what change do you want to see? You sing about that in one of your albums. I mean your single.
Yes. So, I have a saying, be the change,
Be the change.
or
Okay.
be the change that you want to see.
Okay.
And for me, I want to see that change, obviously, in the foster care system, but
Yeah.
also just in the world that we live in. I have a
Mm-hmm.
saying that those who can, uh, I'm sorry, my favorite quote by Rumi is those who say they can and those who say they can't are both right. And it's really just a motivator when I say be the change, whatever you're trying to change, whatever you're trying to do as someone
Mm-hmm.
who is trying to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps,
Yeah.
you have the ability to navigate where that's going. And for me, that's changing the generational curses that
Mm-hmm.
that I've had to escape from my family.
Yeah.
Being someone that is completely different than what I've seen and emerging out a different human being and creating a different path for my daughter, for my family, for the future
Yeah.
generations that are coming. So for me, I want to be a change in my community. I want to be a change for my family. I want to be a change
Yeah.
for the foster care community, for young Black men and young Black women that look like myself, that
That's
are
good.
trying their best to get to a place of success, or whatever that place is for them.
Yeah.
It's really, really important to have those examples, and I want to be that. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean by being the change.
And when you sing about I just can't take it, what is it that you can't take?
So I just can't take it was a very a special song that I wrote um, about a lot of the racial unjust and a lot
Yeah.
of the things, the tension that was happening. I wrote that when a lot of the George Floyd events and things were
Mhm.
happening and taking place. And that song is really about, you know, just not taking any more of the inequality,
Mhm.
the lack of care for human life, for Black
Yeah.
lives,
Yeah.
for Black music, for Black excellence.
Yeah.
And so that song for me is an anthem. It's like, I have a line in the song that, people everywhere tell me, do you care where the love has gone? It's like we need to bring that love that we all deserve and should be showing to each other. We need to bring that together. So I can't take any more of this hatred. I
Yeah.
want the love back.
Oh, I want the love back. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful statement. I think that's what we're all looking for. And we
Hmm.
just don't know how to show that love.
Right. Right.
But Jesus is love. So
Yes.
if we follow his example, but it's just so hard these days. It's just so much evil in the world that it's just yeah, I understand you just can't take it, because I'm like, oh, I can't take it either.
Right.
But
Right.
we just have to be the change. And if we
Right.
just change one person at a time,
Right.
we can get there.
100%.
Yeah. What now I'm gonna switch gears a little bit here. When you auditioned
Okay.
for American Idol,
Okay.
you sang Jesus is Love. What was
I
that
did.
like, singing Jesus is Love for in front of Lionel Richie, the person who actually sung the song?
This is a funny story, because you mentioning Jesus is love. That's one of my favorite gospel songs to sing.
Mine too.
And when I when I auditioned for American Idol, I knew, I just knew. I said, I'm going to sing this song, because one, uh, I knew that Lionel would obviously, know exactly, what I'm singing. But it's also just one of my favorite songs to sing and play, as a musician. So going on the TV show and being able to present that in front of Lionel Richie, he actually took some time in my audition, and they didn't end up airing the audition, but he took time in the audition to explain the story and the background of that song. And
What did he tell
you,
you?
he told me that he actually, they were writing a whole bunch of love songs. The Commodores were writing a whole bunch of love songs at that time,
Yeah.
and the label was like, we want another love song, but they were tired of writing the regular love songs that they were writing. So Lionel said that they decided to write a love song about Jesus, the love that surpasses all understanding.
So beautiful.
As he put it. And what was really, really great about what he told me in that story is that, that song just came about because they wanted to tell a different aspect of love. And that song went all the way around the world, everywhere, and they still perform it and things like that. But that song is a very special song, near and dear to my heart. And to share that with him, he said I did an incredible job of singing it, which was a very huge compliment. And he also told me that he saw a lot of himself in me, which was incredible as well to hear. Yeah, because, he definitely felt that song was not only important to me, but it was something that that was in me, that was a part of me.
Right. Yeah. You wasn't just singing a song. It was a part of you.
Right.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to ask a huge little favor. Okay. Can you please sing that song a cappella?
Okay. I sing a little bit a cappella. Let me see. Father, help your children and don't let them fall by the side of the road. Teach them to love one another, that heaven might find a place in their hearts. Jesus is love. Oh, he won't let you down. And I know he is mine forever. Down in my heart.
Woo! Bravo.
You put me on the spot.
But you was ready though. You was ready.
Thank you.
You did that. Oh my goodness. I felt that. That is my favorite song as well. We didn't go to church a lot when I was growing up. But that song was on an album that we had. And I played that song over and 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 over because, I didn't know a lot of Christian songs, but that one right there always stuck with me. And so that's my story. Thank you so very much for sharing your story with us, and much success in everything that you're doing.
I just want to say, for anybody that would like to help, please go to musicisunity.org to help donate and support foster youth for Foster Care Awareness Month. The work that Music is Unity is doing is so important for the foster care community, especially for emancipated foster youth. So please visit musicisunity.org and donate today, please.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. And I just want to say thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching. And until next time, God bless.